In the February 2024, I released a video called Doom's Greatest Achievement. In that video's introduction, I used Dark Souls no-hit as a segue into talking about Doom 100% Ultra Nightmare runs, thinking that they were a fine comparison point for that video. The reason why I didn't say Doom no-hit was because the idea of a single segment no-hitting of any of these games just seemed ridiculous to me.
This is going to be the most satisfying glory kill I ever do.
The man was the first person to beat Doom 2016 without getting hit a single time. As part of the run verification process, I was asked to verify it. And yes, but how did he do it? What were some of the unique strategies Devo had to come up with? How did he deal with the bosses, the big arenas, the frickin' hit scan fireball imps? And rather than just me explain that, I actually sat down with Devo to ask those questions and more.
Dude, there was one run, I was at the very end of Advanced Research Complex. I was feeling good, and then the hologram stopped working.
So let's just hear from the man, the myth, the legend, the definitely not the 1970s hit smash sensation, Devo. Let's get into it. When did you start learning Doom 2016 no-hit? Like, when did the idea first come about?
So it's funny, Shadow of the Erdtree came out middle of last year. I played through that, and then I thought, you know what, let's go back to where it started. Let's go back to Doom 2016. I didn't say anything to anyone. I just, in the back of my head, I'm like, I wonder if you can no-hit this game. Like, can you do it? Just started playing the game heaps. Just like, all right, we're just going to play Ultra Nightmare. We'll just do a campaign playthrough, have a good time. And as we get closer and closer, I'm starting to think this can actually be done. There were plateaus throughout those months. And I think my first run that I did with splits was maybe 40, 48, 47 hits or something.
That's actually way better than I expected. Like,
I was expecting it to be like 100. Like, it's going to be like 100 hits.
You're too good for the game, what can you say? For those unfamiliar with how to try a no-hit run, it's easier to think of it as a low hit, where runners will do a run to try to get as hit as few times as possible, manually tallying every time they got smacked by an enemy or their projectile. Then, the next run, the goal is to get hit a fewer amount of times than that previous run. This process continues until they get to 0, which by definition is the best somebody can do in this challenge.
So it was like basically 7 months of grinding the game.
You know, okay, if you had to approximate, how much in-game time do you think you spent on the challenge?
Oh, quick calc. About 400 hours.
Wow.
The thing that made it really manageable was I didn't grind the game. For a long time, I would just do full runs and I'd stream for 3, maybe 4 hours. And so it wasn't mentally that draining compared to some other things that I might have done with Doom Eternal.
Devo, for the uninitiated, he completed several purposefully mega difficult slaughter levels without dying, with several various challenge playthroughs of other games. But he's actually got a lot of his online roots first streaming Doom, trying to beat the game on the permadeath difficulty Ultra Nightmare. How did you go from just trying to get an Ultra Nightmare clear to these weird challenge runs?
Every day you do something, you have a little less time to do that thing, right? So you want to leave your mark on something in a way, right? And this was kind of that. But also part of it is leaving something behind for other people to try to do, right? Because no hit, you can take a break. You can stand in a level for 5 minutes and talk to chat. It's not like a speed run where you just, you have to go, right?
You got 20 seconds on the loading screen or else they'll disqualify your run. And Devo sought a greater high from the regular UN experience and thus developed a bit of an appetite for these runs. But in order to do those runs, you have to come up with the idea. Luckily, the Souls community has been doing no-hit runs for years, so the concept was simple. Do that, but in this game. However, the astute among us may realize that these are way two different games. Did that have inspiration on how you make the rules for your category and how you played?
Yeah. I mean, the Team Hitless, they've got so many rules, and they've got lots of infrastructure as well for running games and having games be part of their organization. The thing that is different between this and a Souls no-hit run is that in a Souls no-hit run, they're trying to avoid combat as much as possible, which makes sense, right? You're not going to fight every little enemy on the way to a boss. You're going to run past them. You're going to go straight to the boss, and it's an RPG. So there's some options to break your character without killing everything. But in Doom, you can't leave the room after you pop that gore nest and the demons start spawning in. So there's bits that are easier and bits that are harder. It's just different.
Before one can even do attempts of a challenge run, they have to ask themselves what the challenge is. No hit seems obvious on what the rules are, but because we're dealing with video games, there are even more restrictions. The highest authority in no-hit runs, Team Hitless, have a comprehensive set of rules for each game they represent. The one that's important here is that every game bans some game-specific glitches and exploits. In Dark Souls, there are several bug abuses that can lead to a no-hit challenge being comically easier. So easy that it's trivial. Like in Dark Souls, how you can glitch the state of your heavy, high-damage weapon with very quick, light weapon damage attacks. And now you have massive damage on bosses for very little risk. Oh, but while you're at it, why not just skip the game with a wrong warp? It is a matter of subjective opinion on what exploits or bugs should be allowed or disallowed. Thus, the Hitless community votes on the rules for each of their games. But since Devo, as of the time of this video, is the entire Doom Hitless community, he gets to decide what the rules are, what glitches are allowed and disallowed. One such glitch that'll be obvious from the first minute of this run is a rail boost. How it works, well, you can check out one of my other videos, but I'll sum it up as some rails, when jumped on a certain way, give Doom Guy massive speed. So I decided to ask Devo on why he allowed it. Talking about how Souls games are about avoiding combat. That's not true for like the very beginning of the run when you do this thing where you hop on a rail.
Oh, yeah. So it's an interesting question, actually. And it's, again, these gray areas in the rules, right? So one of the general principles that I have for, any play of this category and rules is to avoid going out of bounds. I think rail boosting is okay, but you just can't clip a death plane. The one thing is like, oh, okay, well, doesn't that mean that someone can just come and do your run and skip like a ton of the level? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't want people to think it's inaccessible or they can't bring their own experiences. Like, oh, well, I know a rail boost that lets me, skip all of this and I can just go straight there. Great. Show us how to do the run easier so more people can do it. I think that's awesome. But obviously, there would be a different category, right?
I guess another thing you have to really consider in these runs, I was going to say fun factor. So a lot of the decisions that you make here are literally just what you personally find enjoyable, right? Like,
correct.
That first combat arena where you do the first rail boost sucks. One of the worst combat arenas in the freaking game. So like, yeah, okay, you do this rail boost and you skip it, and like, you probably can do that with enough attempts, so in reality, all you're doing is just saving yourself time.
Don't want to discourage people from doing things certain ways, but you've got to remember that the more time you spend resetting in that arena is time you're not spending doing other levels later in the run. It's the fun factor, it's about being productive, and it's the first arena. How are you going to get upset about, rail boosting the first fight? The rest of the game have to no-hit, so...
Bet you can't no-hit the first arena. That's why you couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, I can. It's just, I just can't be bothered, man. I've got better things to do, like the rest of the game, so...
When it came to routing and finding the strategies, Devo tried to favor strats that were consistent over any other metric, as he described.
You need to sit down and think, how long do I want to sit here trying to do this run? Am I trying to do this the hardest way possible, or am I trying to give myself the greatest chance of success? I should try to think of strategies that are specifically going to help me achieve what I'm trying to achieve, as opposed to, just sweat-lording my way through it.
But with his established goal and a functional rule set, Devo began his journey to complete the game in July of 2024. But how did he go about doing it? Well, the big thing he did early on was Secret Hunt. Doom 2016 hides weapons, weapon upgrades, player upgrades, and even more collectibles throughout every map. The game awards additional upgrades for all the items you picked up. And since the first levels are relatively easy and simple, it was just free power, allowing for future counters to just be a little bit easier, of which his main strategy during this period was very sophisticated. Find a safe corner where nothing can get behind you, like as Devo describes.
Yeah, so there's a number of arenas where I'll take a position that gives me a big advantage, right? Like I'm looking at one right now on my stream, which is the first Gore Nest of Argent Facility.
Yeah.
And so there's a little cave there, and there's a Praetor Suit token in there, and you go there, and if you can kill that first Hell Knight on the way there, you get the second Hell Knight. He comes straight to you. All of the projectile enemies can't see you, and you're good as gold. You get rid of that Hell Knight, and then you just clean up.
However, all of these combat strategies required the right tool for the right job. So why is your favorite mod attachment Stun Bomb?
Why is it Stun Bomb? Because it's crowd control.
Yeah.
If the enemies can't move, they can't hit me. A Souls no-hit run, you're trying to learn all the attack patterns, and some bosses, they just blow them to bits, right? They'll go in, they'll do 2 attacks, and the boss is dead, right? So the idea is you want to learn how to avoid getting hit, but you also want to just learn how to kill enemies before they can do anything. And then in this run, I realized Soldier is as dangerous as an enemy with 10 times as much health. But if I use micro missiles, the projectile speed is very fast and it typically stuns them. So it gives me crowd control. So it's the same reason I use the stun bomb. It's just that crowd control factor.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because the strongest weapons in this game, if you go by speedrun standards, are Gauss Cannon, Rocket Launcher, Super Shotgun, unequivocally. If you're using any other weapon than that, you're basically doing unoptimal DPS. But I noticed a lot of instances you like using the minigun, micro missiles, for example. I guess, is there any other logic to like why you picked some of the quote-unquote unoptimal choices?
The only one that really stood out as abnormal was micro missiles. I mean, mobile turret, I just use that because it's fun.
What is the logic between like your weapon upgrade order?
So things definitely changed over time, but what I ended up settling on was the first thing I like to upgrade and master. I like to get explosive shot done pretty quickly. The reason I do that is because the explosive shot cluster strike actually does quite a lot of damage, and it doing that extra bit of damage means you don't need to throw Gauss into your damage rotation. So I'll do explosive shot first, and then I start focusing on the stun bomb. Then I think I would take one upgrade on the micro missile, which was the upgrade that gives you the instant load, and then jagged shrapnel, the shrapnel dot, the damage over time, that will actually cause them to go into a glory kill. So they'll basically be crowd controlled anyway. So you kind of get the same result.
It is important to note two things for this game. It's old by modern standards, and it's got a few game-breaking issues. Crashes and game-breaking states are quite common during high-level play, and during Devo's run, he was especially unlucky.
Man, what is this game, dude? Oh, what do I think about Dark Ages? Fucking sick. Can't wait. It's gonna be... Man, what is going on, dude? What? This game just crashed again. How did he get from no to that? Like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. Wait, where's my gun? Game, where is my gun? Game. Give me game.
The crashes did not get Devo down, as he was just able to simply Alt F4 shortcut to close the game and reopen to get to his previous checkpoint. Most runners do this when the run is uncompletable to do a glitch, or if it just freezes. It feels icky, and Devo does acknowledge this.
Yeah, imagine if this is the run, it's going to annoy me. I just want to have a nice, clean run, you know? But this game, the last month, it's just been crashing over and over and over.
So Devo was able to do that and get onto the mid-game of Doom, which most runners say starts around Argent Tower, the 5th mission of the game.
Argent Tower, it's a hard level in the run because it's this bridging level between enemy difficulty of the mid-game, but you don't have the player character power of the mid to late game yet.
Speaking of, I guess, the tower area, why are you shooting so much ammo in tower?
I get that question every day, and every day one of my regulars in chat's like, just add a command for it, god damn it. And I'm like, nah, I just like explaining it every time, you know. But the reason I do it is because of a rune called ammo boost, and when it's level 2, it's a 5% chance, right? Every demon will drop BFG ammo. The way to level it is to collect ammo, and unfortunately in this game you cannot collect ammo unless you have no ammo, so you have to get rid of all of your ammo. Have faith, roll the dice, and use the BFG, because that 5% chance, it might come through, you know? It's one of those things, you smoke them if you got them.
This is an example of how Devo prioritizes his runes and how their management is vital to the run. Ammo boost, which allowed Devo to get free room clears. Equipment power. This allowed Devo to use the hologram equipment as much as possible. When it and the equipment are fully upgraded, you can always have a hologram distracting enemies, drawing aggro away from the Slayer. Rich get richer. The infinite ammo if your armor is above 75. And Devo does not plan on getting hit, so this rune really freaking helps.
Once you get that rune troll done in Lazarus Labs, you know, you feel like John Wick leaving the room with a billion guns, man. You feel really powerful once you get rich, get richer. Yeah, you definitely feel that transition from something that's manageable in the early game to an element of luck and playing really well in Argent Tower. And then once you get siege mode, and especially once you get rich, get richer, and especially once you get the BFG, it's just like a total 180.
Would you say that you are playing a horror game where you are the monster?
I am not going to make that joke today or ever, actually.
You see, this is the great part about talking to someone with Doom, because somebody can understand my pain. For as powerful as Devo gets over the course of the run, that doesn't mean that there is never a scary moment. Would you like to take a guess of how many close calls you had during that run?
What the fuck? What the?
Holy fuck! What the fuck? What's always your first feeling like when you just get hit?
Oh, it's devastating, especially when you're a good chunk of the way through the run. And I could just end the stream now, or we just do the rest of the playthroughs. Most of the time, I would just finish the run until it got down to really close. You know, like one. I think I had a PB of 2.
Yeah.
Once I got into that stage, I would reset until I basically ran out of time to complete a full run.
How long were you stuck at 2 hits?
God, I think I was stuck at 2 hits for like 8 weeks or something.
Part of the reason that Devo got stuck on 2 hits for long was that his route has a high demand on reaction speed. Because dodging 1 imp fireball is easy, dodging 2 in a row, easy. 200 in a row, difficult. Devo had a lot of strategies to keep the number of balls that can hit his face as low as it could be. You can't spawn camp up to 16 demons that can be alive at any point. Sometimes you do just have to, okay, there's 10 demons spawning alive, I gotta stay in this corner and shoot them when they come around it.
Yeah, and that's what the positioning is all about. It's about limiting the line of sight of all of the demons. And if you can't use line of sight, you've got the hologram, you've got BFG. Like the last fight in Lazarus Labs, right before the Cyber Demon, there's heaps of imps. But if you know that there's a BFG pickup in a container and there's a BFG before the Cyber Demon, you're like, well, I can use 2 BFG shots here, and I can always have 3 going into the Cyber Demon fight.
That's a small point that I think is important to touch upon. That like BFG in like the later half of the game helps like take out randomness as a factor, because when an arena gets random, well, just BFG now suddenly it's consistent.
Correct. And it's funny, you find you're using BFG for dealing with the smallest enemies, because the smallest enemy represents the biggest threat sometimes.
There's an important distinction to bring up. Devo's run was no hit, not a no damage run. Normally, these are both applicable at the same time, but there are some niche scenarios in which they aren't. Like, imagine if you have an invincibility power-up and an enemy attacks you. The attack still hits you, but you didn't take any damage. To get hyper niche for a second, I want to point out that any attack that hits Devo during an invincible animation, like from glory kills and chainsaw kills, are not hits even if they make contact with this model. This for the sake of sanity, mainly. As, how can you tell if you get hit during a glory kill animation? Your view box is completely on this demon. You could just get hit and never know. But you can also take damage without getting hit.
Yeah, it would be like Dark Souls 1 when you need to get from the bonfire to the bed of chaos. You have to walk across lava, right? You can walk across the lava and you can take damage from the lava, but it's not a hit.
One of those ones where it's like, it just kind of doesn't feel like the same caliber as like getting hit by an enemy, you know? Except in the like explicit case of like traps where like, okay, it's clearly the dev intended that like if you messed up, you took damage.
It's basically like a thing that's out to get you.
It's not like a being, but it's still an enemy. Over the course of the run, Devo did take damage from 2 sources, one of which was environmental, which isn't a hit. The second one was a little bit more interesting.
One of them was that, you know, that bug with remote det? Doom 2016, when you fully upgrade the remote det on the rocket launcher, there is a challenge. You need to kill 3 demons with 1 remote detonation, and there is a chance you will take 1 point of damage on the exact frame when the little toasty pops up in the bottom right of the screen to say you earned 1 point towards the mastery, and it just makes no sense. And it's one of those things, again, that would make no damage. Just not use remote det.
But with all the background knowledge we obtained, it's time to get into the meat of the discussion. The run itself, specifically. Rewind it back a little bit. You got most of your routing and knowledge back from the days of Red Warrior and Bite Me, doing 100% UN stuff. Did you just do that old routing because it was what you were familiar with? Or did you look at all the new kid routing of the new hundo runners and just go like, ew, no?
Here's the truth, right? I am a fraud. I can't do anything except play Doom because I don't like learning new things. So the truth is, I just remembered what I remembered and built on top of that.
Just curious, did you expect to get like a 1-hit run before getting the no-hit when you were at the 2-hit run point?
If I was close to getting a 1-hit run, I would just let myself get hit again, because I think mentally dealing with 1 hit would be too much.
When did you think that the 0-hit run was going to be it?
It was after the Hell Guardian boss fight. I was very confident. All right, guys, I've definitely got to go refill my drinks and mentally prepare myself for the next 2 levels.
The Hellguards, the second boss fight of Doom, was a major headache for Devo. After the first phase of dealing with 1 Hell Guardian, 2 more would spawn in the arena. To kill the Hellguards, you have to glory kill them. There's no way around it. As we discussed, quote-unquote, getting hit during glory kills is not a hit, so there seems to be no issue. However, as soon as the glory kill on the first one completes, the second one can just be right on top of Devo, hitting him on the first frame of vulnerability, ruining the no-hit run. However, on this particular run, something interesting happened to prevent this.
In the run, the melee Hell Guardian just got stuck in stagger, like he couldn't get out of it.
This bug, well, to know why it would happen for sure, we'd have to access the game code, but here's our community theory. All enemies in this game, and almost every other game, have valid areas they can be in. If the enemy is not in a valid area through some glitch or niche situation, the game has a failsafe. Kill the enemy. Therefore, you aren't stuck in that arena for forever because of one out-of-bounds imp. If one Hellguard gets in the glory kill near the edge of the arena, there's this little Goldilocks zone in between standable collision and arena spikes where the area isn't considered valid. And since Hellguardians cannot die without being glory killed, it just gets into glory kill state. And it will do this until it gets out of that area or gets glory killed. This same glitch actually happens in Doom Eternal's Dark Lord fight as well, fun fact. This glitch is so rare that Devo has never seen it before.
Yeah, I doubt you could make that a strat because their movement is just so random and the way that they get blown back by the BFG is a bit random at times, but if you could make that consistent, the fight would be free. It's not a hard fight, it's a 50-50.
So in the run, Devo got lucky so that they didn't have to get lucky. From that, the feeling that it could be the run set in.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild feeling getting that close. And even, let's say maybe I get to Lazarus Labs, no hit. You get this feeling of like, wow, this is kind of insane. Like this could actually be a distance PB or it could be the run. And it's a very overwhelming and exciting feeling. And I've never felt it before with any other challenge run I've ever done. You know, like a lot of the Doom Eternal modded stuff it's almost like you're chasing the sense of relief from just finally doing it because you're so exhausted and just tired and sick of all of the crazy crap that the modders cooked up. I fucking win! I fucking win! Yes! But with this run, it was very, you go from feeling like you're bogged down in the mud to just like soaring away. When you get to that late game, it's a different feeling of you forget all of the doubt. I became a dad recently and time management has a totally different meaning. You realize, okay, this thing that I love doing, I'm going to have to do a little bit less of it. And I'm not going to be able to invest the time that I used to be able to when I was 28, 29, 30, 31. And so when you start to get a run going and that feeling of doubt vanishes, the notion that once this is done, you're never going to feel that doubt again is insane. We're going to do another run today. Hopefully we do better than a couple of days back. We'll just see how we go. At the end of the day, guys, all I can ask for is to learn, is to get better at this run in the hopes that one day let's go.
I think there are 3 types of ways people end these types of runs. There's the person who gives literally no reaction.
All right.
There's the absolute freak out.
Let's go. Oh my god.
And then there's the third one that I really love, which is doing something called a shoey.
I'm gonna have a beer. I'm gonna have a fucking beer, guys. You should get a beer too. Get whatever you want. I'm gonna get a beer. Here it is. Let's do it. Oh.
I thought that was just a joke. I didn't think that people actually did it, but do you just why?
Mate, you've got to make people remember you. You know, that's what it's all about, man. You can make sure people remember you, and if that involves drinking a very delicious beverage from a very used shoe, then that's what you do, mate. You got to cap things off. It's like putting the full stop at the end of a sentence. Yeah. Have a shoey. Have a good time.
I guess I just want to hear from, the lion's mouth of, how did it feel?
Oh, I had no idea what to feel. I nearly cried shortly after it was all kind of dawning on me. But all I feel is a deep sense of satisfaction and gratitude. Not everyone gets to do this kind of stuff, and when you have a channel and you build something up and it goes places, to then be able to do something like that, no hit a game for the first time ever, you can only be grateful.
There's the old ancient proverb that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. people forget that the most of the appreciation, a lot of the fun about these challenge runs is the journey, not necessarily the completed run, but there's just like a whole story behind. I feel like that's
absolutely.
what makes these challenge runs so interesting, is like it's the culmination of a story point.
This is why people love live streaming so much, and live streaming these kinds of things is because you generate memes, and the memes will outlive the time that you spend doing the run.
Yes.
You know, I'll just grab something quickly, but I don't know if you know Zeus, Moonfire Medir, and he made this incredible piece of art and sent it through to me. I had to get it printed and framed, and it's got all the memes on it. It's got the baboons in Doom, it's got the Bulk slogan, it's got Mike Tyson holding a wood saw, and you would see those sorts of things and you just think, how is that even related to Doom? And I'm like, that's exactly it. This community came up with all of these ridiculous memes that were so funny and are now perfectly encapsulated in this amazing piece of art, and I'll have it forever. And you know, all of those memes will stick with the channel for years, hopefully. A lot of it is about the journey.
I completely get this. Back in the Ancient Gods Part 2, somebody made a super cool digital painting of Mute and Absolute Massive taking a selfie over my corpse.
Yeah.
And it was a commentary on how they both beat my Tag 2 time. And I was just like, that is great. I love everything. That picture will probably stick with me way more than, I'm gonna be real, than some of my like speedrun attempts, like my world records. I guess another thing, like why the art pieces, why the challenge runs are so enticing to me is like I said, these are indicative of like a story. That painting right there, the story of your stream and your memes. The painting of me being selfied and styled on about how people beat my speedrun record. I feel that's just the best content, and one of the best stories in Doom 2016, I think, has been, well, you getting the no-hit. So I want to just say congratulations again.
Oh, thank you. Those words mean a lot. It's been an amazing journey, but it's going to be limited by where other people take it. I could definitely see myself trying a full combat rating run before Dark Ages comes out, but
where could the community learn how to do a run like this? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, well, I'll be uploading a few different renditions of the run. One of them's going to be like a full commentary of just the gameplay with the commentary on top, and then there'll be a sort of stream highlights as well as a rewatching of the run, talking about what happened in the run. So you'll be able to find heaps of content about that on my YouTube channel, and then obviously I'm on Twitch, so if you ever want to ask a question, get an answer straight away, go straight to twitch.tv/Devo.
Are you gonna no-hit Eternal?
No.
Oh, biggest piece of advice for someone that may want to try this run.
Learn how to cheese absolutely everything learn where all